I've done a lot of things to 100% some of Nintendo's greatest games recently. I mean, some of it is just extremely tedious, or some of it can even be very difficult, but daggone it, what Nintendo just recently put me through, they gave me physical pain. Like, genuinely, I think I broke my fingers. And of all games I'm talking about right now, it's Rhythm Heaven Groove. Rhythm Heaven Groove didn't break me in the sense of, oh my gosh, this game's 100% is just impossible. It broke me, like I said, in the physical sense. So normally to 100% a Rhythm Heaven game, you pretty much just want to get perfect on all minigames, which can be pretty difficult. I'm not saying that, and you have to do it once again here, which I'm not gonna lie, getting perfects on every single minigame in Rhythm Heaven Groove is not that bad. In fact, I think some of the past games were worse. I don't think it's because Rhythm Heaven Groove is like way easier or anything like that. I simply think it's due to the fact that if you look back at the past games, the Wii had horrible input lag when it came to the wireless Wiimote and the TV, and the DS also probably suffered from weird inputs thanks to the fact that you had to use the stylus on the touchscreen in order to put every single input in. I'm looking at you, Rhythm Rally 2, and you as well, Monkey Watch. And like I said, those two games aren't that hard. It's just we really haven't had a normal way to play it since Mega Mix on the 3DS, and before that, since the original Tengoku version on the Game Boy Advance. So finally having normal controls again, and even being able to play it straight off of the Switch 2 itself undocked, makes this game not too difficult, because your inputs are pretty consistent. So getting all perfects wasn't the hard part. I actually did that in just a couple of days. But if you want to go for the full 100%, you have to get every game rainbow perfect, which means you have to go for perfect 3 times in a row. And no, it doesn't count once you get the perfect. Once you get the perfect, you have to do it 3 additional times in a row to get a rainbow perfect. You cannot mess up 3 times in a row. It's ridiculous. Plus, you also get a little star if you manage to do it in night mode, which is only unlocked after getting rainbow perfect. So yeah, you gotta get a perfect, a rainbow perfect, and a night mode perfect on every single minigame to get the full completion for it. Yeah, it's insane. You also need to get all 5 stars on every single chapter of Beat Spell, which also isn't that difficult at all. Once you know what you're doing and you're good at timing, this is a breeze. You have to get all gold medals on every score attack minigame, which also isn't too terrible. They're kind of lenient on some of these. And you also have to get all golden rings on the co-op minigames, which is just pretty much getting an amazing in every game, which is difficult if you don't have anybody else that's good at rhythm games, because that's what I found myself in. And these third versions of some of these games got very difficult, so guess what I had to do? Yep, the Sakurai Smash Ultimate method. Some of these minigames are super hard to play with 2 controllers for 1 person. I mean, it's not meant to be played this way, but I made it work. The hardest one definitely being Sick Beats 3. This one absolutely tore me up and my fingers. But no, this isn't where my fingers broke. No siree, there's one extra game mode that you can try to 100%, and that's the return of the dreaded drum lessons. When I played through the drum lessons in Tengoku, I did really well. In fact, I passed all of them with flying colors, even some of the more difficult ones later on. I will admit, some of these definitely got tricky, but it never necessarily got frustrating to me. But oh boy, are we back, and are we frustrated? I don't know what it is, but it felt like I was fighting for my life with this game's drum lessons. It was impossible. But I felt like a main reason was once again that input lag. It was extremely noticeable on the television. There were some times where I felt like the game was putting in inputs that I wasn't even pushing. I'd say the first half of the challenges weren't bad, and I ended up getting S's on all of them, but man, when you get to that second half. But most of it is manageable until they hit you with that final lesson. And dog. I've been hearing online how bad this part of the game is, and I never really considered it being this insane. Like, I just sat there and stared at the screen after this. Like, did I skip a lesson or something? Like, Nintendo, what do you mean I'm supposed to do that with a controller? When I say it took me, no joke, nearly a full-fledged week, 5 to 7 days to fully learn this rhythm and get this beat down, I'm not joking. And it was constant practice on and off for those 5 days. It was so bad, I had to break it down measure by measure. So I broke it down in 4s and learned each section of this song that I'm supposed to play. After about a good solid 4 days of practicing, I was able to do this. But every single time, I kept getting stuck up on this part. They want you to hit these buttons so incredibly fast, and I'm in this slow mode. That's when I realized I definitely don't want to be doing this on a TV, and I also found a tip online that suggested to not use a Pro controller because the D-pad inputs were too imprecise. So I found it best to use the Joy-Con, and specifically with the grip, because the Joy-Cons without it just felt like I wasn't pressing the right buttons. But even with the Joy-Con and in the handheld mode, I still was having problems with that third section, just because of how fast you had to press the buttons. Especially when you have to do it in full speed mode. Remember, I'm still in slow mode. So not only did I have to use this Joy-Con grip, but I also had to hold it in a certain way so I can reach those buttons fast enough for that third section. So I had to have my palms a little bit off the controller and my hands positioned a little higher so I could hit that Y and A button easier. Finally, it felt like a short victory, but I just realized, of course, I have to do this in the full speed version. That was just in the practice slow-mo, and it's a lot faster. This then took an additional 2 to 3 days just trying to get this down, but faster. Yep, that third part is an absolute nightmare. That's when I really had to change the grip of my hands and just position them in such a weird, awkward way. I couldn't comfortably rest the controller in my hand anymore. I now had to hold it where it was balancing on the ends of my fingertips, and I had to hold it in such a very specific and graceful way in order to hit that YA combination. Yeah, the hardest part about this is not only do you have to play at full speed, but you also have to get it right 4 times in a row without missing a beat. And once you get to that third or second green man, that's when your heart starts pounding and you're just guaranteed to miss just one note. But finally, after about a week-long grind, I did it. And I didn't get it on camera because I, no joke, did it in the bathroom. Don't ask me where I put the screen. But after all that work, I got a D. And what's funny is when I did it, I actually thought I did really well and didn't really mess up on any notes, and somehow it wasn't good enough. I really don't know how anyone is getting an S rank on that, but you know what? At least you get a cool little gold trophy in the cafe. This is not worth it. I've seen some people complaining about this online being so unbelievably difficult, but I mean, I wonder how some other people are dealing with this. Maybe it's just a skill issue thing, but I don't understand how in the world the devs thought this would be okay. Although if it wasn't for that stupid third section, this wouldn't be terrible. In fact, it was kind of cool to slowly learn something so difficult over the course of an entire week. It felt rewarding to finish, even though I got a D. I should not have gotten a D. So try out drum lessons if you want to break your fingers. I genuinely have calluses on my thumbs. Don't try this. This is not worth it. You don't need the trophy.